Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carl Prusa MMA today. We got a returning guest to the platform. He is the blue collar one. He is Mr. Nick Klein. He is getting ready to get back in action August 2nd, Apex, taking on Andrey Pulyaev. Nick, what's going on, my friend? How you been?
Not a whole lot, man. Just been training and working.
Absolutely, man. So some fun, exciting news. Just a few weeks ago, you're making your return fighting in the Apex once again, where you have the good memories from the Contender Series, taking on fellow Contender Series alumni, Andrey Pulyaev. When you're able to get the fight, when you got the offer, we're pretty excited from the get-go on this one.
Yeah, for sure. I had plenty of time to train for it. I feel like it's a good matchup, and just excited to get back in there.
You know, one thing that really sticks you apart is your fighting style, man. There's no such thing as a boring Nick Klein fight. You go out there, you put a lot of pressure, you put a lot of pace. You're a very fun, entertaining fighter. Do you take a lot of pride in your style?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like artistic painting or some other shit. You know, everybody's got their own style. I was talking to my brother doesn't train or fight or anything, but because I do, he's getting more and more familiar with it. And he came up to me the other day. I was in my garage messing around with something. And he's like, man, every single guy in the UFC has like their own style. And I'm like, yeah, Ben, you know, that's kind of how it's always been. You know, everybody can throw a jab, but no one's two jabs look exactly the same. Or, you know, everybody, everybody's got their own style of dancing, you know? So everybody, even if it looks the same, is a little bit different. It's just like your fingerprints, you know, no two set of fingerprints are the same. And I think fighting's the same way, you know, and I've got my own set of prints that I go out there and use. So.
You know, what's the reactions been like from the blue collar folks, man? Are you getting a lot of people on Instagram who are, you know, working that field, reaching out to you, being like, hey, you inspire me. I like what you're doing. I support it, sort of thing?
Yeah, there's definitely been a number of people who've reached out in that manner. And obviously it's super flattering to be approached that way by other people, you know, but at the same time, it's, you know, I don't see myself any different from them at all, you know, and it's really neat that they're inspired by what I'm doing, you know, but at the end of the day, we're both just doing the same thing, man, out grinding for a dollar, you know, so.
No, so you train over at Pure La Vida Mixed Martial Arts, but what is it like at that gym, man? You guys have been having so much success, so many great fighters out of there. Obviously, Montel Jackson doing really big things out there as well as some other guys. What's making that group so dynamic and so special?
I definitely think there's just kind of a family approach to the fight team. That's for sure. Whenever somebody's got a fight coming up, you know, he's that guy, whether it's me or Montel or even a bunch of regional teammates that I have, there's always a good 4, 5, 6 guys that are going to probably make it their priority just to be to the gym for that guy, you know. I'm doing the same thing for, you know, teammates that I have that are still on the regional scene, you know, like Wesley's fighting to get his spot in the UFC, you know, and my teammate Dylan, I think, is 4-1 or something right now. He'll be up on Contender Series here pretty soon. You know, and I take it as my duty to help those guys get there too. You know, I've got another teammate, Jordan Clark, who's 6-1 as a pro. He's about to make his way on to Contenders. He was coming off a knee surgery, or he would have been on probably last year already. But yeah, we're just always making sure to be there for our teammates, and I really think that pays huge dividends at the end of the day. And a smart coaching staff that likes to set up a game plan for each individual opponent and make sure there's guys in there to kind of emulate that style and you know, run through that game plan day after day before the fight.
You feel like now being in the UFC, fighting the biggest, you know, promotion in the world, do you feel your position in the gym has kind of changed a little bit? Are you now one of those guys where everyone's coming up for advice?
I think some of the newer guys do, but like my teammates that have been teammates the whole time, none of those guys see me any different, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see some of the newer members be a little bit, I don't want to use the word starstruck, but like, holy cow, that guy's in the UFC or whatever. It's neat to see their excitement, and that's cool for me. But as far as like teammates and friends that have always been teammates and friends, nothing's changed there at all.
Absolutely. You know, I think a big thing of mixed martial arts, obviously, you know, the training's important, the skill's important, but I think the mentality, having that really strong mental mind, mental game is very important for success in this sport. Having that blue collar background, is that something that helps you with the mental side of fighting?
Yeah, I think it just kind of helps me not really think about it a whole lot. That's kind of what it is, day in and day out of tough work. Just quit thinking about how tough it is and get it done. I think I kind of take that same mindset right into the sport. Except it's a lot more fun to go spar and train and practice and get tired doing that than it is shoveling gravel or some other shit. So carrying buckets of concrete or whatever.
One thing I think is really cool with you too is throughout fight week, you're always very relaxed. You keep it cool. I forget your coach's name, but you have one coach who has all these crazy one-liners. You guys like to talk jokes back and forth. Any interesting one-liners said in the back of your dressing room before the last contest?
Um, before my last UFC fight, none that I can pick out specifically. But there's definitely always some interesting talk going on between me and my coaches. There's always some laughs to be had, that's for sure. Even right before I walk out, man, either Solo or Jake, man, are always good for a funny one-liner or a funny story or something. Especially when I'm the most nervous, that's usually when I'll look to them for the deepest, wisest advice, and they will always give me some bullshit story or answer, and that just makes me laugh and completely breaks the tension, of what's about to take place, fighting wise and stuff. So those guys are they're a true gift to have in my corner, that's for sure.
So we talked about it earlier, but you're getting ready to go back in action, taking on Andrey Pulyaev. You're going to fight this one in the Apex. Overall, what do you think of Andrey as an opponent here?
I know he's tall and lanky. I know he likes to counter strike. I know he's got some good kicks and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think he's a talented fighter. I think everybody in the UFC is talented, though. I mean, no shitty guy makes it to the UFC. I think he definitely is going to pose challenges with his height and stuff. Maybe his reach. I can definitely see where he is a challenge for guys to fight. But I think ultimately, me and my team have him pegged. So,
with your style, if you're very aggressive, coming forward style, do you like fighting in a smaller cage?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. The smaller, the better. I'll fight in a phone booth if I can. I might actually do that. What is it? That's got to be a Russian promotion, huh? Andrey will probably do it someday. But that phone booth fighting or some of that car jiu-jitsu, you could put me on that shit. I'll be all over that. Choking guys out with seatbelts and shit. Oh, it'd be awesome. You know what I think about that? You've seen that phone booth fighting, right? They should leave the phone in there. You should be able to whack that motherfucker with the phone if you can.
I think another one of these promotions that are starting to make some noise. I don't know if you've seen it, ice fights, but now they have on skates.
Yes. That's awesome. I love it. I think we went from MMA to BKFC, and now there's and then Mike Perry drops the dirty boxing and stuff, and I'm people are just getting creative with it now. I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge power slap fan, but I seen that ice fights, and that's fucking awesome. Talk about a curveball for fight. How many hockey players could be chanced in that immediately just because they've got the footwork on the skates down? Dude, if you put me on ice skates, I'm going to not be able to fight very good against a lot of hockey players who could probably they know how the foot position works there, they know how to plant on skates and throw a good punch. It's God damn, those guys are pretty tough to I'll beat any hockey player's ass on bare feet or on mats or something. But when I got to go into, it's like a boxer trying to fight a wrestler in MMA. He's going to lose every single time, that dude's going to grab your legs and put you on your head. It don't matter how good you can punch. I feel like it's the same thing for me trying to get on ice skates and go fight some guy who's been fighting on ice skates for 20 years, but no, I think that's awesome, man. I think all those wacky promotions that are coming out, I love it. So, when do you see Eddie Hall fought them two 125ers or something? I thought I'm all for that too. I love that shit. That's my favorite stuff. Those team fights, those are hilarious too. Some guy will be ground and pounding another guy, and that guy's teammate will come up and just sucker punch the shit out of him. Those are crazy, man. That's great. It's great entertainment. I don't think I would do the team fights, and I'd probably do 6 months worth of figure skating or something before I try some ice fights. But I'll go do some dirty boxing and some bare knuckle boxing right now. I'm for all of that stuff. Game Bread, Jorge Masvidal's got the bare knuckle MMA. I'm for that for sure. But yeah, man, all these other promotions coming out, they get me riled up seeing all these new rule sets and just kind of raising the bar a little bit as far as creativity.
It's kind of crazy when you think about, when I first started watching mixed martial arts, it was the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. It was back in 2005. It was Forrest, it was Stephen Bonner. And I really think a lot of people got to see the life of being a fighter from that. Before that, obviously, if anyone knows the history about the UFC, they weren't nearly as big as it is now. And I think one of the main reasons was it wasn't legal everywhere in the US. MMA at one time, people were calling it human cockfighting.
Yeah.
People thought this was barbaric, crazy activity, and the people doing it were crazy and out of their minds and all this stuff. Now, there's fights every weekend almost. I mean, basically every week. The UFC literally does a show almost every single weekend now. If you have Fight Pass, you can watch a regional show probably 3-4 days out of the week. You got PFL, you got BKFC, you got Game Bread, you got Karate Combat, you got One, you got all these other promotions that are emerging. Does it blow your mind how the sport has really evolved?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it blows my mind, but it's certainly cool to see it grow so much. I mean, it wasn't back in the day. You had the UFC, and that was it. Seeing all these other promotions come up and just kind of develop in their own way, and even like PFL and One too. I think it's cool that like One has MMA and they're running Muay Thai fights with just MMA gloves and stuff on. It's like each promotion has its own little spice, There's not a single doubt in my mind that the UFC has the top tier of talent. You could put those guys in any other promotion and they're going to smoke just about everybody there. Not saying every fight would be one, but most of them for sure. I would say UFC fighters win 75% of the fights across all other promotions. Yeah, it's super cool just to watch the sport grow and expand, and not just MMA either. Like I said, the bare knuckle boxing is fucking sweet, man. I've watched a couple of those events now, just on TV from home, and it's like it's a bucket list thing, man. I would love to go in and get one or two of those in before I retire. I just the experience of being in there. I think would be super cool, and it'd be so fun to jump on Mike Perry's promotion and dirty box a little bit. I think that would be cool. It'd be cool to go over to Japan, man, fight for Ryzen. They roll out the red carpet for like ex-UFC guys, so it's like I'll take all the treatment. So, but yeah, it's super neat to watch all these promotions just grow and expand and see new and unique rule sets come out. That just adds some spice to the sport.
How much fun are you having right now on this journey?
What's that?
How much fun are you having right now on this journey?
Oh, tons, man. It's just I'm just super grateful to have been given the opportunity. Like we were talking before the interview started. Like I've seen so many guys come and go just in my time in the sport, and I've seen a lot of guys, give it all gas and no breaks, to give it every bit of effort that they've got, and they still never got to see or experience the stuff that I get to now just with the UFC. I feel like the UFC is everybody's goal, right? Like nobody really gets into MMA and is like, oh, I just want to fight for PFL, or I just want to fight for, it's like the UFC is like the cream of the crop. That's the best you're going to get. That's top of the line. So to get there and be able to fight for them is just such a privilege, really. So
it's kind of crazy when you look at your story, obviously coming from that blue collar background, getting that opportunity on like 7 days notice to fight on the Dana White Contender Series. First one didn't go your way, but I mean, some great moments in there that, in my opinion, is only going to further your stock and make your name bigger and bigger. What is the biggest thing you've learned so far from this journey?
I think that just all these guys are human, man. Watching all of these fighters prior to me on TV and stuff, you see them on the screen and everybody just looks superhuman, and then you meet everybody in person or train with them in person and you realize that they're no different from you. I think that's been like it's probably the biggest thing that I've taken away, is that the only thing that separates the guys at the top and the guys at the bottom is the guys at the top just kept going to practice.
For you, have you embraced the role of being considered the underdog?
Yeah, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the odds. I kind of expect to be the underdog going into every fight. I've never been a favorite in any fight in my life, so it's whatever. I don't care.
Do you feel that provides a sense of comfort? Do you feel you get to fight more free when you're like that in that position?
I don't know if it's. I guess it is kind of more freeing. I don't know. I guess every time odds have come out for a fight, it's like I'll see that I'm like a minus whatever, and it's like, yeah, whatever, or sorry, a plus whatever, and it's just like, yeah, it's to be expected. I get overlooked every time the camera's on me, so it's fine. I don't care.
At this point in the career, what are the goals?
The goal right now is just to keep winning through the rest of this contract. You're right. Right now, Andrey's in front of me, right? So beating him is next on the list. That's really as far as my sights are set. We're gonna go beat him up, and we'll see what happens after that.
So obviously, you've been a fan of mixed martial arts for a while. Who are some of those guys that you really gravitated to as a fan? Maybe before you started training, before making it to the UFC, that maybe kind of inspired you a little bit.
I think Anderson Silva was one of them. Watching John Jones climb when he first was, on the scene, just kind of taking out all the old vets. That was, or I shouldn't say all the old vets. Like, they were still really good fighters at the time. He just was really young. Watching him kind of walk through the division like that was super crazy. Man, all kinds of guys. I when I first got into it, I was watching like Don Fry and stuff, and a lot of the really old fights, and it was just super cool to see those guys go out and do things the way they did in the early days there. It was pretty gruesome fighting 2 or 3 times in one night. It's wild stuff. But I think Anderson Silva and John Jones, way back in the day, watching them guys was like, damn, it'd be so cool to do that.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, here are some big UFC fights coming up. I want to get your predictions of who you think are going to win some of these big matchups. Saturday night, we got a banger of a main event. We got Charles Oliveira taking on Ilia Topuria. Who comes on top of that one, sir?
Boy. Either Ilia knocks him out or Charles submits him. If Charles knocks out Ilia Topuria, I'm going to shit my pants. That'd be crazy. I'm gonna go Ilia by 3rd round TKO.
So we got a big fan favorite one coming up. We got Dustin the Diamond Poirier taking on Max Holloway again. Poirier's retirement fight. Who's got there?
I really don't want to pick because both those guys are awesome. I just met Dustin not too long ago. He's cool as fuck. Oh man, I feel like I'm betraying Max. I want Dustin to win his last fight, man.
Then we got another 185 contest coming up. It's Ranier de Ritter, Robert Whitaker. Who wins that one?
I think de Ritter chokes out Rob in round 1. I hate to take from Rob. He was one of the best middleweight champions ever. I think his peak is coming past, and I think Ranier's really fucking good.
All right, so
he's also a massive middleweight too. He's enormous.
We're going to end on another middleweight one last, and it's going to be for the title of that division. It's Drake Duplessis. It's Khamzat.
Oh. Boy, I don't know, man. Kamaru made Khamzat look human, but fuck, man. Drake is as big as fuck, and he doesn't get tired. I think Drekus is gonna hold the belt for a little bit, dude. I think Drekus is gonna win that fight. I think Khamzat gets his first loss.
Be interesting to see. We mentioned some big names of the sport, guys that are headlining massive pay-per-views. Obviously, you're in the same division of these guys. You might be fighting some of these guys one day. But when you look at these names, when you look at the big fights, do you get a spark of inspiration from it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they climbed their way up just like I'm going to have to, So at one point they all, I suppose Drekus and Khamzat, they haven't lost in the UFC yet. Those guys are both undefeated in the UFC. So they haven't been in my exact shoes per se, but at one point they were just at the beginning of their first contract, fighting their way up the ranks. So, it's like I said before, it's not much separates the guys at the top and the guys at the bottom. Everybody in UFC is good. And, the guys at the top just kept going to practice and stayed inspired. So
it's kind of crazy that, about this time last year, life is a lot different from you. You're still out on the regional scene, getting ready to take on regional fights to try to take the UFC, chase the UFC. You were lucky with that short notice opportunity, made the most of it. And now you're naming the UFC, getting steady UFC fights. Does life feel different?
No, not really. At the end of the day, it's all just the same stuff. It's just that when fight night and fight week come around, I don't want to use the word pampering, but you're in better hotels, you're getting fed better food, things are running way more smoothly. You get higher treatment, and the UFC just runs things really professionally for the fighters. Come fight week and stuff. Other than that, it's just getting emailed flight itineraries and stuff like that, and more money when I go fight. But other than that, not a whole lot's changed. It's the same lifestyle. It's the same. Training's hit a little bit harder now, but I've always been training hard. So I train for these fights. I try to train harder, but I've kind of been all gas and no brakes since I've started doing it. So I just try to give each camp my all and make sure that when I get out there, I look like I belong there. So,
so many people are watching the sport now, and I think most of the casual fans, they understand what you guys are doing, right? They understand you're training, you're trying to win fights, win more money, go up the rankings, win belts, yada yada yada. But I don't think they see the fight that occurs out of the cage. It's the fight too for a lot of people. Not clocking at 9 o'clock in the morning and have to clock out at 5 o'clock. It's the fight to gain financial freedom. It's a fight to build up a platform, be able to live life on your way, not follow societal norms, and make an impact in the world as the way you want to do it. For you, is this a big part of the journey?
Yeah, 100%. I think on my way up, I just want to remain successful and set a good example, be funny and inspire people, and also just kind of be myself while I'm doing that stuff. Yeah, other than that, I just like having fun with the sport. I do this because I like to. I didn't get into this because I wanted to make tons of money. I tell everybody that if you're getting into this sport just because you want to make tons of money, you better find something else to fucking do, because you ain't gonna make shit starting out here. And you got a long road and a lot of long nights and a lot of ice packs before you're gonna start making good money off of this. So, but yeah, I do it for the love of the sport, man. And if I can inspire people and make some money on the way up and have some fun, it's all worth it.
We've talked about in the past a little bit about the casual fans and some of the funny comments that we hear in the stands. But for you, do you have any that stick out, any liners that you've heard from the casuals, whether it be at an event, online?
Oh, yeah. Okay, one that made me laugh the hardest was some guy posted a picture of me, and he was like, it was something like GOAT status or something. Like the guy put out like a friendly post to me, and then this guy comments underneath him and he goes, "He's a poor man's Cody Brundage." And I just started laughing my ass off. But it was what it was. I think Cody's a good fighter. I think I'm a good fighter, but I was like, damn, it was like a hit at me, but it made me laugh. Like I said, none of those rude comments really get too under my skin. That one I thought was funny though. So another guy messaged me and told me that I sucked at fighting and I should go die. And I was like, that's a lot. That's pretty harsh words for losing a fight. Sorry. You definitely lost some money on me. Sorry, dude. But yeah, man, all that kind of stuff is just, it's humor to me. So no matter how mean it is, it's all just good for laughing.
You have a very likable personality. You're a funny guy. You have a lot of charisma. Have you always been like this?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the people around me, I guess. I think I've always been this way.
Awesome. All right, last question for you, Nick. In a perfect world, what is the outcome on August 2nd when you make your return to the UFC Apex against Andrey Pulyaev?
Oh, first round finish, uninjured, and then I want to fight like 2 weeks later. That'd be ideal. 2 fights in August and 2 wins would be great.
Well, hey, Nick, man, I can't wait for the fight. Always an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I wish you nothing but the best, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks much, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's it for us today. I'm Carl Prusa. He is the blue collar one. He is Mr. Nick Klein. Watch him August 2nd, Apex, taking on Andrey Pulyaev. Take it easy, fight fans.